Welcome to From Loneliness to Overflow with Matina. This is a space for honest conversation, for moments when something inside feels heavy or disconnected. Each episode features practitioners and wellness spaces sharing the intention behind their work so you can feel into what resonates and discover support you can experience directly. Wherever you're arriving from today, you are welcome here. Welcome to another episode from Loneliness to Overflow with Matina. Today's guest is not only a powerhouse for the woman that she is today, and also a powerhouse for all the experiences that has led her to be the woman she is today, where strong and vulnerability is meeting each other and merging so beautifully that it allows her to fully show up in her own right. And I'm so grateful to have you on today, Lo.
Thank you so much, Matina. I'm really very honored to be here today.
I'm excited for the conversation, but before we step into the conversation, please introduce yourself for our listeners.
Yeah, my name's Lorian Masters, but my friends call me Lo. I am a local Hamiltonian. I don't know if that's like the way to
Yes.
say it. Uh, and I am the founder of Low Life Coach, certified life coach and wellness practitioner. And more than anything else, I'm a woman trying to navigate this messy thing called life and embrace the human experience.
The messy thing called life is something that we all can resonate with because
Mhm,
there have been moments in our lives where we're like, oh my God, why is this happening? And then we go into moments like, of course that was happening.
mhm.
So, Lo, what was your loneliness or disconnection moment that has actually led you to be in the overflow of life that you're living today?
Yeah, I love this question because it made me think of a bunch of different experiences. But when I really truly peeled back the layers, really the last 5 years that I'm going to talk about today. And, growing up in a matriarchal home where my mother was the everything and everything for everybody. And being the oldest daughter, I grew up as an overachieving type A, want to do everything and want to make everybody proud. AKA people pleaser. And really that was kind of what led me through life. Always done well in school. Jobs came very naturally to me. I didn't really have a trajectory. Things, not that they were handed, but opportunities always presented themselves. And instead of myself thinking, what do I need? What course do I want to go? I just, whatever was presented, said yes to. And really fell into, like so many of us, the hustle culture of the 2000s, running forward and trying to do everything and be everything for everyone. And what happened was my body eventually told me, no, we can't do this anymore. And so, to paint a picture, if we go back to 2019, 2020, pre pandemic, I was living in Toronto with my partner. On paper, had the perfect life, had the highest paying job of my career, had a lot of responsibility, had a huge social circle out all the time, experiencing the best restaurants, the like it places. And I thought I was thriving. And I think this is the biggest piece of this because it took me leaving Toronto during the pandemic to come to Hamilton and for the quiet to hit to really realize and my rose tinted glasses, I guess, to come off that although I had all of these beautiful things from the outside that anyone looking in would say, like, you have it, girl. I was the most loneliest I ever was and actually was dying on the inside. And when I say that, it wasn't a soul death, which I wish I could tell that kind of story, but it was an undiagnosed autoimmune disease from that's just the hustling, thinking I was in a thriving place, but actually I was in survival mode, nervous system overload, trying to, appease everyone in my life and never asking the question, is this what I want? And am I getting what I?
Okay, I want to pause you there for a second. So many of us have been given this platter where we always talk about we need to have all of these things in place to have the life.
Hmm.
What you're sharing is you had the life. Exactly. Exactly. And even though in your mind you were thriving, your body was surviving.
Hmm.
And here you are being made aware of what actually is going on inside of you. So, what was the next first thing that you did when the rose the colored glasses came off and you understood that there's so much more happening inside of you.
It was multi-layered. So I think first stepping away from the best way of saying is the gluttonous life that I was living in all aspects. That one, I'm not an extrovert. I thought my whole life I was. I'm very introverted. I had chosen the wrong people in my life because although I was surrounded by so many people, they weren't choosing me. I was trying to show up and be chosen without questioning, are these people for me and are they supporting the life that I'm trying to bring for myself, which is, I want to be a woman who walks the messages that I provide to others as a life coach. And to step back from that, I wasn't
Mm.
because I was running. I was in the autopilot of life of just get up, go, repeat, rinse, repeat. And so moving to Hamilton and actually being able to breathe, all of a sudden, I put on 60 pounds that I didn't understand while working with the trainer why it was there. I started losing my hair. I was fatigued. And I don't wish this upon anybody because I don't think anyone really truly understands what fatigue is in somebody who has a chronic illness until you live it. And so, like, carrying laundry up the stairs, had to have a nap after. And as somebody who, again, was go, 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 to have to pause after the smallest activities, it was quite earth shattering because it was like, what's wrong with me? Something's not happening. And it took a few years to get the diagnosis that I had both endometriosis and celiac disease. But the 5 years after getting those diagnoses were really the challenge of trying to reinvent or create a lifestyle that was more in balance and more in service of me instead of me always being in service of everybody else.
You're saying it so beautifully, and I can literally feel the pain and the discomfort behind the words. When our body is responding a certain way, our nervous system is responding in a certain way, it has been under pressure for years and years and years.
Hmm.
Where we suppress, where we keep going, where we are telling ourselves a narrative and a story that we must keep it up.
To be enough, be
Absolutely.
enough.
Absolutely. Oh, I'm so glad you said it. Oh, this feels so good. What do you find now, Lo, now that you've had to listen to your body, you had to readjust your life in a way that to be enough is not defined by the external, but the internal. What were your lessons there?
Well, I think I'm still learning some of these, to be honest. And like when I mean learning, I think from a spiritual and emotional standpoint, I have an idea of what this looks like, but in practice, to reprogram 39 years of your life is quite difficult. But I think in our Western society, we're kind of painted this picture that our productivity equals our worth, or how much we check off our list, how much we get done, how much we support others. That is what success or is enough. And our humanness is enough. End of story. And I'm so grateful to have a partner that reiterates this to me on a daily basis. And I think that, like, having support in a community of people that are understanding of the journey that you're on. And so, the energy level I have now isn't the same. I can't run at the same speed. And if I tried, it would be in detriment of my health. And so trying to find this balancing act of what is my capacity and how to fill my cup up so that I'm not running on empty has been kind of the challenge. And I'm starting to understand it a little bit more, but it comes back to being intentional, extremely intentional of, what are my values? What do I need, or what energy do I possess today? So waking up, what energy do I have today? What do I need to be the best version of me? And the best version of me could be 110% one day, 20% another day. And I think that surrendering to that, knowing that you will not always have the same output capacity space on a daily basis, and being okay with that, that is part of that messy humanness that I said at the beginning of, really surrendering into the human experience our soul is here to live. And that comes with the ups, the downs, you know, the energy, the lack thereof on certain days. And I think this is the biggest lesson, has been the compassion and patience to figure it out. The awareness is the gift on a daily basis, but understanding to rebuild patterns and beliefs takes time. We're habitual people, so we're going to fall back into that pattern, but catching it and being like, that's okay. I'm human. I had this, like, it's okay that I took a step backward. I'm aware of it. how can I do this differently next time? And that's the reprogramming. And so I think to answer your question, there's a few lessons, but I think the biggest one is surrendering and having the same compassion I would for others with myself, which is, I think sometimes we don't realize what we deserve, and learning. And that to me is the greatest gift of self-love, is learning what that is for you.
It's so easy to have compassion and care for someone else than for yourself. And I truly find, especially with clients and anyone out there, you can literally look at someone's face and be like, "Ooh,"
Yeah.
but how often do you give that hug to yourself?
Often not. We're so mean to ourselves. It's true. It's hard to rewrite that narrative. And I think that it is coming back. I think for me, and I guess, we're talking about my story. So for me, it's reminding myself that this is my vessel. I get this one vessel now. And this has kind of been I think the shift to try and
Rewire.
bring in that compassion. Yeah. The rewire is to like, this is my vessel, and that's a gift, and I want to treat it as so. And so how do I give it the rest that it needs, the fuel that it needs, the love and tenderness? Like if we think of ourselves as babies, right? Like you would never say to a baby, you're being dumb, or like, get it together, you can do more, push yourself. Like you would never say that to a baby. So we need to treat ourselves with that same tenderness and love. And if we can't right away, who do we have in our support network, whether it's a care, like family, friends, or therapist, coach, whoever else is in our support network, to help us, remind us, and be that mirror for us until we're able to grasp it ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so important, what you mentioned earlier is intention.
Hmm.
What is your intention for your journey? And I'm so grateful that you are being vulnerable and sharing your story because it will allow the listener to hear, like, yes, even though you're a coach and you will help people in organizing their lives and their minds and their heart in alignment, you too are a human being. And you
Hmm.
too will go through your own growth spurts as much as I am as well, as everyone is actually into growing to be and welcoming those who you are meant to help. So you stepping up and sharing your story here, Lo, is really, really beautiful in the sense that the listener will be like, oh, but I am going through something that with my nervous system and I'm having this autoimmune disease and I'm going through all of this experience. But now you who are so open and willing, I can resonate with you. And what we need is that tribe, that person in our toolbox to lean on, to have as our guide, as our support. So I'm curious to ask, like, who do you have in your toolbox, or what tools do you use now to help yourself in your day to day life to be like, okay, when I go through this, this is what I do.
So I call it my constellation of support workers. So I already mentioned, like, my partner is just absolutely wonderful, not only with just going through this journey with me, but also being such a tender reminder when I'm not giving it to myself. Or if he sees me going back into like, oh, today I need to do this, 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 he comes up and gives me a hug, and he'll just say, babe, you're enough. Like, you're enough. I love you. You're enough. And so like, that's I'll say, like, number one. But to be honest, to help me with like the nervous system and my full being, I have a therapist that I love and who's been on my journey with me forever. I have a personal trainer nutritionist that I think her name's Melissa Carter. She is the best. And I say this in so many different ways because she has really helped me redefine what showing up for myself looks like. And so sometimes that is just the gentlest days at the gym, and some days it's a vigorous workout. And it's really meeting ourselves where we are in that day, and really, moving our bodies is such an important piece to help move energy through it, but also just to feel connected to ourselves. I'd say the other pieces, I'm sure everybody knows yoga with Adrienne. My yoga with Adrienne, she's quirky. And then just having supportive friends that are okay with the rescheduling. Like some days you wake up and you're just not don't have the energy to do what you need to, or you have an autoimmune flare up, and it's very frustrating when your mind and your heart are so ready for something in a day and your body can't match that. And so journaling, meditation, I think really strengthening that spiritual connection with self is really important in this journey. reminding ourselves what our purpose or our why is. And for me right now in this journey and chapter of my life, it's to not feel limited by my body, but to meet it with the compassion that it deserves, which is a really hard balancing act at times. And and I would just say for people to be patient with themselves and figure out what works for me might not work for somebody else. And so I'd say, thinking about prototyping and trying different things for you to see what that looks like for yourself, because it did take it's 5 years in and I'm still figuring it out. There's certain things I've got to a T, and then there's other pieces where the balancing and the compassion is super hard. It's super hard as somebody who loves to run to say, oh, I'm embracing this slow living now, and I want to be super intentional about it. It's interesting where the discomfort edges are, and they push hard at times. And so just trying to remind ourselves that it can't all happen at once and one day at a time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. In your journey, though, you're sharing so many beautiful nuggets where the listener really truly can be like, okay, what do I feel is true for me right now? And what can I lean into? What I'm also hearing is where you had to redefine parts of yourself that just needed more love, that just needed more compassion, more care, that you willingly, without thinking, give to someone else. But when it came to yourself, it was like, oh, it's okay. And it's been proven. It actually has been proven through research over and over again that our thoughts are mostly, I believe it's 80% plus negative. So you're not aware of the majority of the thoughts that you have. So the thoughts that you can catch and you're like, oh my God, I think that way. What were the 2 or 3 thoughts for you that came up that shocked you almost? Like, why do I think that?
It's so funny. I was just talking, sorry, I have a bit of a giggle right now because I was just talking to somebody about this, how I've created a mantra for myself recently from a place of recognizing my inner voice. So there's often one of wanting to give up that comes up for me, which is so interesting because I think of the people who know me from the outside, I don't think they would ever assume that that's an inner dialogue for me, because I'm pretty, when I have my eyes set on something, I'm pretty dedicated at going for it. But yeah, wanting to give up, this is too hard, this is too much, I can't do it, which is so funny. The story I tell myself, or I have since I was a child, is you're too stupid. That comes from, if I can witness the 10-year-old standing up in class having to read aloud, who was on dyslexia and was stuttering over words and was so scared to get it wrong. I think back to her and I just, we did it, girl. We've made it. It's okay. We've got each other. And I think the other one that comes up is and this might be a little heartbreaking, why am I not lovable? And I am. I think I just had not chosen the right surroundings to be in to see what I was and what I am.
But this is the key, because when we are hearing these thoughts, it's coming from a part of our lives where our human wasn't developed enough and where we are coming from a childlike curiosity and asking
Mhm.
these questions. So even when you say, why am I not lovable? It's coming from this very young you that's like, they can have that. This person can have that.
Mhm.
What about me? Why am I not?
Yeah.
Now, you becoming aware of this thought is a gift, even though it doesn't feel great. It's a gift because now you're like, okay, what part of me felt unloved? So I'm curious to hear, when you become aware with this inner dialogue, what game do you play to change that dialogue?
So I have two ways of going about this. My partner and I are avid cyclists, and it's funny. I came up with a mantra for the bike because cycling is very self-inducing suffering. And so one of my mantras for these moments are, I think it's very important to say your name. So I'll say, I am Lorian Masters. I am strong. I am healthy, and I have energy. I can do hard things. So that's my mantra when it's the inner voice is like, you can't do it, give up. But the more on the tendering side of not feeling loved or feeling dumb or, not chosen, I use my middle name and I have a conversation. So I'll be like, Alexandra, you have no place here. Go. I'll kind of tell her to be gone, or I like to knit. So I'll be like, go knit in a corner. Or, we don't need you right now, kind of thing. And kind of just have a little bit of sass with it. Um, and that kind of breaks the spell sometimes of the loop that can,
Yeah.
start. And so I find, all of us have, well, actually, based off of Instagram, apparently not all of us have this inner voice. But for those of us that do, when it comes up, I find that bringing up a little bit of sass and giving her a name and just letting her know that like this isn't helpful right now, or this isn't this is based on old stories. I'm not subscribing to that anymore. Helps break the spell and stop the loop from going. Easier said than done. But I think, like you said, the gift is the awareness in the moment to catch it. And if you can, to be able to have that. And if not, to have the compassion of, I didn't get it this time, but, I'm aware that it happened again and I can make a difference the next time she presents.
What you're actually sharing is you're disassociating her with you,
Mm,
and you are literally giving her a task to do so that the distance becomes greater and the loop is stopping, which is a great exercise for all our listeners to hear because, oh, okay, so next time a thought comes up, it's not about why do I think this way, or let me dig
mhm,
down into my roots as to discovering how, what, where, when, which if you find is helpful for you, go for it. Yet there is power in disassociating.
mhm.
There's
Because we're not our thought.
we're not our thought.
Funny, right?
And our thoughts literally come from this limited perspective to make sure that we feel safe and we are in an environment that is known based on the past.
And I think that's a great point to bring up because if we're able to also say, like, how beautiful is it that there's a part of us that wants to protect ourselves, but it is not necessary right now.
But saying that exact thing when a thought that's not serving comes up, it's like, oh, thank you so much for making me aware. I'm choosing to let you go.
Mhm. Instead of chasing it, right? Instead of chasing that thought and allowing it to consume us. And I mean, I'm sure there's a place and time for that, but when thoughts are negatively impacting you, especially like, girl, I got nervous being on your podcast because I was so excited. And I think just reminding myself how beautiful is it that a part of me cares so much about wanting to show up in my authenticity and bring value to your show and your listeners. Like that, being able to say that, like, oh, how beautiful is it that there's a piece of me that cares so much, but you're not needed here right now. You're not helping, so go somewhere else.
I'm sure I didn't recognize that. I'm sure the listeners didn't recognize that either because you're sharing so openly and vulnerably and very authentically in a way that people can relate.
Thank you.
So kudos. We all deserve, honestly, let's take a moment all together to celebrate ourselves in this moment. What can you be so grateful for that you are showing up for today, doing in this moment, and embracing whatever is in front of you
Mhm.
and receive it? Receive. It's so good. Now, the next phase that I really want to tap into and ask you about is like, of course, now you have gone from this go life into a more still, controlled way of being and way of living that serves your soul. But there was also a journey that came after that that allowed you to step into the role that you fulfill for others right now. So how did that came to be?
Like, how did I start my coaching journey? Yes, I started my coaching journey. Actually, this is interesting. So I started my coaching journey in 2017, actually. Before I left the corporate world, I worked in HR prior to that for 7 years. And I'm going to fast forward to where I started our story today because while I was serving beautiful women prior to 2020, I don't think it was in alignment with the person I was and how I wanted to show up and serve. And so I think one of the things that really helped me get through this experience was I went in for my second coaching certification just before my diagnosis. And it was a health and wellness coaching certification. And so to have walked into this programming that I didn't know was going to be the best gift to me, and it was really, for anyone interested, it was the National Board Health and Wellness Coaching certification. And it really talked about metabolic syndromes and different health experiences and really what supports and I'm putting this in air quotes for people who can't see, like a healthy life. And it really helped break down what I feel like everyone should be given during school because it's information that's so important, but really how to heal ourselves through lifestyle. So going through that journey helped give me space to experience and kind of walk through it myself, and really take from that what I thought would be really meaningful and impactful for my clients, current and future. And so now, and I'm a big believer in the lessons you need to learn. A lot of times your clients will come and mirror them for you. And so during that time, so many of my clients were showing up with essentially like our productivity equates our worth. And so this to me wasn't hadn't quite dropped in of like, this is why my nervous system was on overload. I knew the piece, like the physical pieces I was going through, but not the emotional and spiritual pieces of like, I'm also feeling like I have to get a million things done to feel like I'm enough in a day. And as soon as that, like that shift of that me being able to actually look at that and say, this is what brought me to this place, this like feeling that I had to complete all of these tasks in a day and be the best of friend and be the best daughter and be the best partner and to be the best employee. That was the recipe to leading to the autoimmune burnout. But it also was the gift of letting this veil down and seeing life is so much more than what we do.
Yeah.
Because when you meet people, it's, oh, what do you do?
Yep.
Right? Like that encompasses who we are. And so to me, what I think is the biggest blessing of being able to walk alongside somebody during a specific season in their life is being able to help other women, let down their own veil and say, who am I outside of the noise? Who am I outside of my job or mom or all the titles I have? But who am I? What is my essence? And what do I need to be the best version of myself without the checklist, without the to-do list, without all of those pieces? And how do we build a lifestyle that's sustainable from that place?
This answer is gonna resonate with so many, and I'm one of them as well, because I too were go, show up, show up, show up, show up. And then when you stop and you are assessing what does your body need today? What does your
Mm-hmm.
heart need today? What does your mind need today? And how can you fill those places so that you grow into that next version of you? What you will have not only done for yourself, but you're also doing for your clients allows you now to grow further. And I'm going to say this low, and I'm saying this with a lot of love. You don't give yourself enough credit.
Thank you. My therapist says the same thing to me all the time.
Because in this whole story, you are mentioning people left, right, and center. You are honoring everyone who has been on your path with you. And because you're choosing to share this so authentically and raw, I know you're honoring yourself too. But I really want to bring this to the forefront because when we see the gift of others, we are also seeing a gift that lives inside of us. Otherwise, we would never have acknowledged it or even saw it for another. So I love that you're mentioning all of these amazing people and their traits and their ways of helping you, but they have awakened something inside of you that was already there.
Yeah. And I do have to give myself credit because it's really hard to change your lifestyle around.
Totally.
And like, I wish it didn't take so many of us to hit a rock bottom for that, like that catalyst to occur. And if it wasn't for all the research that I've done, all the appointments that I've gone to, learning what an anti-inflammatory diet is. Sundays is Sunday. What do I call it? My elixir day. So I make like an autoimmune cocktail. And when I mean cocktail, not alcohol, it's just like this mason jar that I take swigs of every day of the week that has turmeric and vitamin C and whatnot in it. But like the amount of research and what, like how I said at the beginning of figuring out what things support you and make you feel good
Mhm.
is so important. And I think, myself included up until this point, it's easy to get into the victim, like, woe is me, this is all happening to me versus this is happening for me. And like during the beginnings of it, you have to sit and have a pity party every once in a while, but it's how long do we let ourselves sit in it for? And the investment in ourselves, right? I think that's the big piece is when we talk about investments in ourselves, I don't think people take it as seriously as they would invest in other people. And I'll give an example for that. I was at a vintage market recently and watching people a little bit and people saying no to a jacket that was $40 and then went and bought 2 beers that is $40. And it's thinking about the like how like if we were intentional, these are both $40, but which one is going to support me in the way that I want? And the 2 beers, I'm not nothing against the 2 beers, because if you were intentional saying, I'm going to have a great time with my friends, or we're going to go out and do this thing, I'm going to have 2 beers, it's great. But it's the difference in seeing how we reward in our priority system and what we believe is going to give us joy. And oftentimes we choose the quick dopamine hit over the lasting.
Absolutely. We all do that. We all do
Of
that.
course.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. There's this little ritual that I have on this podcast where I get to ask you a question that the previous guest has left. And always, it is always matching with the conversation we had. And of course, this one is too. So the question I have for you today is, what is one step that someone can take now to be in their own powerhouse?
That is a very good question. Get rid of all of the distractions you can and have an hour to yourself with no noise. And if an hour feels too big, that's fine. Use 15 minutes. 15 minutes is all we can do. That's fine. No phone, no distractions, and just sit. Just sit with yourself for 15 minutes and see. It's going to be the most uncomfortable thing, especially if this podcast resonated with you. You will be so restless and have the need to get up to do something. But I challenge you for 15 minutes to sit just with yourself and have a pen and paper somewhere else after and just sit and see what comes up. Because beneath the noise and the distractions is a need that is asking for some light to be shone on it. And if you can listen to that voice, that whisper, that nudge, there's so much magic there.
Oh, it's the best answer I could ever imagine. Thank you for sharing that.
It is very uncomfortable.
It is. It is. And also very freeing at the same time.
Yeah, and so just somewhere quiet for 15 minutes, even if that's sitting in a closet, because that's the only place you have little ones around, just sitting with yourself.
Yeah, that's a beautiful gift that everyone can give themselves for sure. Lo, for anyone who wants to connect with you, reach out to you, where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Low Life Coach. So Low has no W, it's just LO. My website is lowlifecoach.com. Yeah, I think that's the best places you can find me.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your raw authenticity today, for sharing what you have been experiencing in your own life, but also, and actually more importantly, the journey and the tools that you have put in your toolbox so that you can continue to help yourself further and also help those who come into your orb. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor to be on here and to share space with you today.
Likewise, I feel the same. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you for spending your time here. Sharing your reflections in the comments or passing this conversation along helps this space reach people who are looking for support and don't always know where to turn. Take a breath as you transition back into your day and notice what's present now. I'll meet you again